Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder. Supply in this video is to bring you a closer look at the Adams Rite number 1830-03-628. This is a bottom rail deadbolt that is an easy piece of hardware in the sense that there's really not a lot of options, and it is used in a particular situation. If you are ever walking around in a mall and you see a employee of a clothing store or whatever it is bending down at the bottom of the door to work a key to unlock a door, that's a bottom rail deadbolt. Now, it may not be Adams Rite, but it very likely is. And that's what a bottom rail deadbolt looks like. Of course, you're going to be installing it in this orientation, okay, where your cylinders or cylinder thumb turn going to work here. Basically, what happens is a petite bolt comes down and locks into the floor. A strike plate, the 4006 would be a good option for that. There are, I believe, 2 lock options and then 2 finish options. Let's go over the extended description first so we know what we're talking about. The 1830 bottom rail deadlock provides bottom rail locking in ultra narrow style or tempered glass doors. What that means is ultra narrow style, like maybe 1 3/4 aluminum, tiny stile and rail preparations, or glass doors. A Herculite door, but a Herculite door that will have a bottom rail. An all glass door with a bottom rail, a bottom aluminum rail. Tamper proof with an armored faceplate. It does come with a faceplate in the aluminum finish. It's tamper-proof in the sense that you can't get to the lock body without removing the door from its hanging hardware. Okay, so that's obviously going to go right like that when it's all said and done, realistically like that. Okay. And the options are finish is one of the options. We'll talk about the other in a moment. Protects with a minimum threshold strike opening. Tamper-proof armored faceplate. It protects with a minimum threshold strike plate opening. What that means is the thickness of the laminated bolt that comes into the floor prep or the strike prep is about 7/16. So it's quite small. I think what they're kind of driving at with that is foot traffic over it. That 4006 strike has a 1/2 inch opening width, and that bolt is 7/16. You want to make that as small as possible, so someone's shoe doesn't fall into it like a heel. Function: for bottom rail locking of ultra narrow style or tempered glass doors whose bottom rail shoe is too shallow for a standard bottom rail deadbolt, an MS 1861. That's a much larger endeavor. Has the same mechanism, but with a reduced bolt size. It keeps the threshold strike opening to a practical minimum, avoiding collection of debris or snagging on high-heeled shoes. I know that heels have gone into dust-proof strikes. I've not heard of one going into a 4006 Adams Rite. I suppose the possibility is there. But, you know, I don't know how big heels are on shoes, but that strike opening is 1/2 inch. The width, and then it's 1.5 inches long. Armor faceplate protects cylinder set screws from tampering and keeps them from loosening. Not applicable to wood doors. They're again talking about the aluminum plate, and once it is attached to the body, it is going to disallow access to the small set screws that hold the cylinder on. Again, you're working in the space under the door, so that's probably very small to begin with. Operation: 360-degree turn of key or thumb turn throws or retracts the counterbalanced bolt. Key can be removed only when bolt is in positively locked or unlocked position. That bolt needs to be fully retracted or fully thrown because the cylinder has to make a complete turn. Lock accepts any standard 1 5/32 mortise cylinder from either or both sides of the door. You must have an MS, maximum security, is what MS stands for, dimensioned cam. You have to have an Adams Rite cam. I've got a sample here that we're going to go over in a moment. Cylinder back set. This is an 03 variant, which means it's 1 1/8. That means from the edge of the door to the center of the hole is going to be 1 1/8 for your cylinder prep. Now I'm coming up a little bit shy on that because I don't have my faceplate, but if I had my faceplate, I'm going to be at, from the edge to the center, 1 1/8. That's a crucial dimension. You have to decide what that's going to be when you order it. That's the other option, which we'll get to in a moment. Clear finish. Finishes are an option. Steel with corrosion-resistant plating measures 1/6. We'll go over the template in a moment. Bolts, 15/32 by 5/8 by 2 1/8 with 5/8 throw. 6 laminated steel with 8 plies within case. Center ply has alumina ceramic core to deter hacksaw attack. I suppose if you're going to try to get in and cut with a hacksaw under the door, they've thought of that. The 4006 strike is available as an option. It is a stainless steel strike with a plastic dust box available in finishes to complement. I have had clients say, gosh, I need it in polished brass. No, Adams Rite doesn't provide it. It's made of stainless, so you could have it powder coated or plated, I suppose. I've never heard of plating on stainless. I'm sure that it can be done, but I don't know. Powder coating, certainly. There is a manufacturer who offers a rectangular dustproof strike, but the size of the hole for the strike is greater. It has a spring-loaded cover. I think that would be a bad idea because it's larger, more possibility for a shoe to fall into. They do exist. I have had a client request it. The point is they need polished brass, or and this manufacturer of that rectangular dustproof strike can make it in any plated finish, any. Again, you'll need Adams Rite cam. Cylinders and thumb terms are sold separately. Let's go to the data sheet that's there, and you will see it's a product catalog. We've covered everything on page 1. Page 2 gets into the dimensional properties, and let's cover some of that now. They said that it was 1/6. Length of the body, that's where the 6 is going to come into play. The dimension A on your drawing, which is the lock body height plus the faceplate, this is an 03, which means we have a cylinder back set of 1 1/8, which is, again, the dimension from the faceplate to the center of the cylinder. That's going to, of course, give you a dimension A of 1 25/32. So again, adding about 1/8 of an inch, you can see that we're going to be right at about 1 3/4 inch overall height, 1 25/32. Thickness of the body, of the face at least, 1 inch. Overall length of the faceplate, that's going to be your 6 7/8. Okay. Thickness of the body itself, looks like it's about 13/16. You're going to make a preparation. It's going to be 1 by 6 7/8 is what that'll be. If you're going to install it into your door, looking at the right side of page 2, you do have to decide how you're going to attach it. You could use those tube spacers, as are mentioned there, and that's nothing other than a conduit. It's a thin conduit that the mounting bolts are going to run through so that when you tighten it down, the conduit is cut to the proper size. You run that screw in and it's going to stop it. Alternatively, you could order mounting brackets that you could prep to the bottom of the door and then use a machine screw right through here into your mounting bracket. The customer that we're doing a job now for these, he's literally making a bottom shelf, they've called it. It's kind of like a channel that they're going to prep this to, and then the entire steel apparatus will be inserted up into the bottom section of this door that's 4-inch thick, that's made out of stainless tube, steel tube that has brass cladding on it. Many piece parts involved in this door, so that's where that's all going. The lower left-hand corner is the how to order. Adams Rite is spectacular with the how to order format of their product line. Makes it really easy to understand. So it's an 1830. What's your cylinder height or backset? 31 32 or 1.1 inches? Understand when you pick that, your dimension A is going to slightly change. You need to make sure that you can accommodate the body in your design. May not matter. You might have a huge amount of space underneath there. I might opt to go with an 1.1 inch backset just to keep the cylinder a little bit further off the floor, but you're talking 5/32 of an inch or whatever it is. Two finishes, 628 or 613. You're not going to see the faceplate if you're installing it in the bottom of the door. Pick the faceplate that you want. I suppose if you had a highly reflective floor surface, you might be able to see the reflection of a color coming through, but everything that we're doing on this job is either polished brass or black, and aluminum is what was used. It could have used 313. It would have been closer anyway. So that covers that data sheet. The installation guide is pretty much all covered on the data sheet as well. This gets into the dimensional properties of where you're going to install the hardware. If you have an inverted bottom channel, really the only thing you're concerned with is the cylinder height dimension, your backset. Cylinder height, they're calling it. Bottom to where your plate's going to be flush to the center line of that cylinder. That's what you've got to drill, okay? Where you place it horizontally on the door, that's going to fit your requirements in your door construction. There's no hard and fast rule. I would certainly be looking to put it as close to the swinging latching style of the door as possible. There is no hard and fast rule that I'm familiar with in that regard. You might also position it to be more compatible with whatever your flooring condition is. Should you have some sort of flooring condition, that moving the strike over a little bit might be more conducive for your application. So step 1 gives us the dimensional properties. 2, we just kind of covered, cylinder height. 3 is the assembly itself. You can see from the exploded drawing there, it's simple and straightforward. You're going to need to install this lock when the door is in the horizontal position so you can get access to the 2 set screws that are going to hold on your thumb turns and cylinder, or cylinder only, or 2 cylinders, whatever the case is. Get that all tightened up. However you're going to mount it, with tube spacers or mounting brackets, whatever you're going to do. Step 4 talks about the tube spacer. Dimension A plus 32 thousandths minimum channel depth. Okay, so, and Adams Rite sells the tube spacers. Step 5 is the reference to the cylinder cam. The cylinder is installed in the horizontal, and that's because of the way that the cam comes out and communicates to the yoke part of what will drive the bolt in and out. The cylinder, the key is going to be horizontal. It's not going to be vertical on this. Let's not even talk about trying to make the cylinder horizontal or vertical. Step 6 are the use of trim rings. This trim ring thickness will vary with specific cylinder make and number of pins and bottom rail thickness. To determine trim ring thickness, use the following formula. B is the dimension from the face of the door to the center line, I'm assuming, of the lock and of the door thickness, but you'll see in a moment that that's not necessarily always true. Trim ring thickness equals A, cylinder length, plus 1/8 inch, minus the B dimension. Say what? Okay, so that's easy. How thick your cylinder is going to be equal to your cylinder length. Okay, how long of a cylinder are you ordering? You're going to know that, or you're going to derive that. Less 1/8 inch minus the face of the door to the center of that lock body. Okay, the 1/8 inch is going to come into the fact that you can't thread that cylinder all the way into the lock body and get to the exact center, because in the exact center is where the black connecting piece is. You've got to back that off a couple of turns, and that's where your 1/8 inch is coming in. And that covers the installation instructions. How to order, we've already covered that. That's another link, simple and straightforward. I have an 1830 here, and I've got a really, really cool cylinder. I've got a exceptionally long cylinder, 2 3/4 length on an 1830. I've got a 2 3/4 mortise cylinder here. I've got an 1 1/4 mortise cylinder here. Why? The client, long story short, because of a restriction of hardware, we could not center the lock body in the center of that 4-inch thick door. So what we decided to do was get a really long cylinder on one side, get a shorter cylinder on the other, and bada bang, there you go. It works just super duper. Counterbalance, they had said before, the bolt operates really smoothly. It'll stay right there, whereas with a normal Adams Rite lock, it will click back closed. So it's balanced in the sense that it runs smoothly through its operation. There's no wham or wham like you would with their 1860 Deadbolt. So it works really nice. Okay, so obviously it's going to be down here. The position of your 4066 strike needs to be biased because of how the bolt approaches the condition. It's got an 1.5 inch long prep, so you're going to need to be biased to leave the open space of the strike over here where the bolt's going to come back up. I was doing that backwards because I was looking at the screen. It's actually over here. The bolt needs to travel back up and out of the way. Okay. Nice smooth operation on the lock. There you go. So we've talked about the options. We've talked about where you're going to use it. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Adams Rite products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. If you have any questions on the Adams Rite 1830, this is an 03 variant, which is an 1 1/8 cylinder height, in a 628 or whatever finish you want, provided it's 628 or 313, or any other Adams Rite product, feel free to reach out to us. On the link to the manufacturer's page, there is that catalog I had mentioned, but there's also their parts list. It is the most up-to-date version of the parts drawing that I'm aware of for all of the parts that they publish. Every item is not published, but most are. The point of that is if you're looking for a part for a lock, let's say a 4590 push paddle, you can pull that drawing up and buy only, you know, the part that you need, the cam plug or the binding post that will allow you to hold the unit on to itself. You can buy just the subcomponents is what I'm driving at. If you have any questions on this or any other Adams Rite product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.